So you had mentioned while we were setting up that you were athletic when you were younger. Was that all through high school? You went pro and decided to step back?
Well, I was always athletic. It was one of the doors that always opened for me with sports. And my parents were fantastic about letting me pursue whatever sport I wanted to. And I wound up being volleyball and basketball. I'm tall-ish and
Yeah,
jump.
yeah,
And
yeah.
yeah, I wound up playing professional in Holland, and it wasn't so much I wanted to step back. I kind of reached that level of satisfaction where I knew I couldn't. I don't think I could get any better at the sport, no matter what I tried to do. I kind of reached the capacity of what my body could handle. So I
Right.
retired with a level of satisfaction, you know.
Cool.
So stepped away happily.
And what steered you towards acting then? What did that? Was there a crossover period where you're like, I'd rather do this, or?
I think I've always wanted to be an actor
Okay.
to some extent. Even when my brother and sister and I were really close, and we would play together and create those worlds and have fun, and I enjoyed using my imagination and creating those worlds. And I don't know that I wanted to be an actor back then, but as I wound up in front of audiences with sports, and that immediate response from doing something well, performing in front of an audience, I think once I retired from the sports, that I knew that there's an audience factor, there's a performance base that I really enjoy. Not that I just needed the audience, but I wanted to create for me and have that creation be something that others could hopefully enjoy.
Right.
You know, like when you're on a team and you win, your team wins.
Right.
Your fans are grateful for that victory.
Yes, they are.
The same way your creation of a character, if you do it well, which is always the goal, then people watching that movie can enjoy and go on the ride with you because you've done your job. I love that concept.
Right on.
So I think there's a carryover in that respect.
How much about acting do you feel is natural, and how much of it is refined and learned over years and taking roles? And
That's a phenomenal question. I think everyone could act. I think there's enough, because we're being human, if you can understand. I think ego and self-direction get in the way. Like once you start worrying about what you look like, that's when the problem would start. But I do believe there's an innate ability. Some people start higher up on the ladder. Let's say if it's a rung of achievement to be able to act, that some people start higher up on the ladder just innately. So yeah, I think there is a gift element to it, but I think it all can be learned. I think everybody has it within them because we're all humans. We all have emotions. It's about learning how to access those emotions and tap into those universal truths so you can tell a story for others to enjoy.
right.
That's a really good question. I've never
well,
asked that. That's cool.
I ask musicians that a fair bit because I tried to learn how to play music and I can't, so I walked away from it.
Right.
And I wonder if that's just something where people pick an instrument up and they get it and they can continue on with it, or if it's like, I'm going to force myself to learn, and then you're always going to be that sort of...
Well, then you start talking about passion, right? Like if I knew I wanted to be an actor and I didn't have that much experience, and yeah, it's a tough process, and the whole industry is based on the word no. I mean, you're going to hear no 90+% of the time.
Yeah.
So you're going to have to know that you're going to pick yourself up one more time, then they knock you down, or you will be knocked out of the industry.
Yeah.
So for me, it was passion and the learning process. I think there had to be some innate ability in there, and then where that ended, not that it ends, but where that reached its natural level, then the passion and the desire to learn grows that whole aspect to it.
Yeah.
So I think we all have it. It's just how much and how big.
Cool. You've performed in a number of genres over your career acting, but I enjoy looking at your roster, and I see sci-fi and I see comics and I see stuff that I dig. So I'm curious if that's stuff that you were into back in the day, or it's just the way it's worked out.
Well, Vancouver is quite a hub for sci-fi.
Yeah.
So it's a good, and I do love it. Like I said, I grew up watching Star Trek with my dad and my brother. So and Blade Runner. I remember watching Blade Runner and be going, oh, there it is. Yeah. That is phenomenal. That world, that escapist notion of that is phenomenal.
And that movie didn't do well. Like it kind of bombed when it came out,
Now, though.
It's revered.
Yeah.
Revered.
Yeah, exactly. Revered is the sort of grandfather. But I was a kid. I wanted to be a superhero.
Yeah.
I pretended to be superheroes. I put a sheet on and called it a cape and ran around and tried to save the world that I had created. It's kind of easy when you create the world to say it. But to actually be able to put, the Watchmen was the first time I donned a cape that I can remember right now sitting here. And yeah, it felt good. It's like a little bucket list check.
Yeah.
And then just recently on Legends of Tomorrow to play Obsidian. Where the visual effects, when you're filming it, you use your imagination and you jump into that world, you jump off the springboard into that world. But when they put all the effects together and they cut it together and you see it and you know you're inside that outfit, it's pretty intoxicating.
Yeah.
So, but that, I mean, if you don't mind, even being a superhero or an alien, I mean, to be a part of the Star Trek franchise.
Absolutely.
Touching history.
Absolutely.
And going back to my youth with my dad and my brother and knowing that existed then and was phenomenal then and is still and is getting better as we go. That is such an honor and that is so cool.
Yeah.
But there's other shows too where I tell a story about somebody's journey, or if it's a real life story, or that's equally, again, I'm going to use the word intoxicating because that's why I do what I do. You know, if you listen to a song, I guess as a musician, you listen to a song that takes you somewhere else.
Yeah.
Somebody writes a song and when you listen to it, you either get lost in a memory or you just go somewhere like your happy place.
Yeah.
That when you watch a movie, if you can get drawn into the story so much that you forget, like if my mom watches the movie and she goes, "I forgot that was you," that's the best compliment I could ever get in the world.
Yeah.
When your mom goes, "I forgot that was you," you're like, wow, okay, cool.
Right on. Now you mentioned watching Star Trek with your dad. Is that your earliest memory? Can you remember like the first time you saw something on that show, or like, wow, that's nuts. I can't believe it. They did that. You know what I mean?
Oh, just the phasers and the hyper drive through, like all of it.
Yeah.
And I remember specifically my brother and I. There was one original Star Trek where he lands on a planet and there's a lizard man chasing him, and it's just mano y mano, one-on-one. And he tries to, out of a bamboo, shoot and rock salt, and my brother and I are like, we should try and make that canon. You know, like that's how involved we were. Yeah. So we're stealing parts of the vacuum, and my parents loved that. But yeah, I remember specifically my brother and I. My dad wasn't there for that one, watching that one going, what would happen if we were there? If we were on like a world where let's see if we can create that thing. We're kids.
Yeah.
So fun though. We actually wound up turning the vacuum on reverse and blowing stuff back.
Yeah, it's a good idea.
Making a total mess, which my mom loved. Sorry, Mom.
How did you wind up getting involved with this latest installment of Star Trek? How did that happen?
I've been pretty fortunate in my career, I think because of my size and my athletic background, to do creature work.
Right.
I've been very fortunate. I'm not a stuntman, but I've been very fortunate to be in the stunt world enough to do stunts. And I say I'm not a stuntman because those guys train and do things that blow my mind. And I've been on wires and ratchets and had great experiences as a stunt person. But that physicality taught me how to stay in touch with my body like you have to be an athlete. And in doing so, creating creatures that are different. That's a whole other aspect of acting that I found quite intoxicating. So to put on that makeup and start creating the walk and the physicality and the attitude, that gave me a lot of opportunities. I was a zombie in Cabin in the Woods and on Stargate, multitude of creatures and aliens and all those prosthetic makeups. It's a different world, and it is a different skill set. So when it came to this one, I think I'd had enough experience doing all those things that they went, well, here's some actors with some experience, so we can get a performance base that we also know that we can slap through 5 hours of makeup.
Yeah.
Who won't freak out, who won't quit, and we'll bring the professional etiquette necessary to get through 18-hour days with people poking and gluing and prodding you.
Yeah.
Now saying that, I mean, still, I'm inside honored to be a part of Star Trek, but it is a work. It's a tough gig. It's 5 hours in the morning. You're 5 hours earlier than anyone else.
And there must be stuff that you can and can't do once you're all made up. You know, like you don't want to smudge anything or smear it or crack it.
Yeah, if you have an itch, you poke it. You know, you can't.
Yeah.
And then if you have prosthetic hands on, you're like, you get a stick and you can't. Yeah, you have to. There's a care and attention to the material used as well, because you can't. there's no quick repair. If you like forget and rip that open, they can. They're amazing. Those artists are amazing. Joel Harlow, who created all the aliens, their vision is phenomenal. And then they had this great group of people who applied the creature makeups, and they could fix and repair anything on the fly. But not that you want to. Everything slows
Yeah.
production.
Now, how long of a block of time did you need to be accessible to do your role in this movie?
It was like a 3-week shoot.
Okay.
For me.
Cool.
And 3 weeks of pretty long days. But the sets were intense. They spared no expense. So it was pretty easy to transport to another world, because it was almost like another. We were in a rock quarry. Yeah, they built the other world. We were in a rock quarry outside of the core of Vancouver. It was amazing. We walked in and they spent, I don't even know, I think, rumors, you hear rumors,
Yeah.
$200,000 to $300,000 literally in paint alone to change the rock quarry, color of the rocks, to the world that they wanted, so that it looked not of Earth.
Nice.
That's a lot of paint.
That is.
And it worked. You walked in, and I've been on the full range. I've been on the indie set to the full 9-figure colossal sets. And every once in a while you walk in and you have that moment. And luckily I'm hidden behind prosthetics, so they can't tell that I'm having that moment. But you walk in, you see the set, and you absorb it for a second. You're like, wow.
Yeah.
And the Star Trek was the one. Because it's otherworldly.
Yeah,
So
absolutely.
I had that moment of just like,
very cool.
yeah, it was.
Now, you mentioned Cabin in the Woods, and you mentioned being Dollar Bill and Watchmen. I went and looked at your acting career, and I'm like, okay, I want to pick a few things that I just want to touch on. Watchmen, of course, is one of them, because it's just huge in the comic book media.
Yeah.
They did such a great job translating that impossible novel into, a movie that works. I was very worried that it just wasn't going to work. So.
Well, that was on Zack. He, in fact, right from the beginning, wanted us to make sure we addressed it as a graphic novel.
Yes.
It's not a comic book.
Yeah.
And I think in setting the tone, even from what you talked about, his vision was explicit.
Yeah.
And I think that's why it worked out so well, is that he honored the genre, the graphic novel nature of it, and all the characters. And that was another one it was pretty cool just to be a part of.
How did that work for you? Because Dollar Bill got more storyline in the Under the Hood portion.
Yeah.
Was that filmed while The Watchmen was being put together? Was that filmed afterwards? Because there's 3 different ways to watch that movie.
Yeah.
And I've watched all of them because I'm really into that graphic novel. But
that was kind of a unique process. I part of wanting to be a better actor was to become a reader, right, for auditions, because you're in the inner sanctum and you get to see other actors make their choices and do their work and understand in the room what does and doesn't work, and hear the input from directors and producers and casting directors right there. And I wound up being a reader for the Watchmen process, and met Zack, and we played Dixie Cup football in between.
Right
and hung out. And at the end of it, he's like, "Your physicality is great. would you want to be Dollar Bill?" That took me about 0.001 of a second to be, yes, please.
Exactly.
So it was a unique way to get the job. And we filmed the Under the Hood stuff while we were doing it. And I know it was a small blip on the movie's radar, but just to be, again, it's the same as with the Star Trek. To be a part of something like that was the glory for me. I've done roles where telling the story. Did you hear it? No. To be a part, like for me, every job has merit in some way, shape, or form, and so it's either I'm honored to be a part of it, whether it be big or small, and sometimes it's the story that's being told, big or small, or it's the size of the role because it's a great big role and there's a huge responsibility to do it justice.
Yeah.
So everything had its piece, and this was just a part of being part of Zack Snyder's vision.
Yeah.
And that graphic novel.
Yeah.
And a Minuteman, And the Under the Hood stuff was cool too, to expand it a little bit.
Absolutely.
So it wasn't just the fool who got his cape caught in the bank door.
And you've read the book, so you understand that there were these 4 pages of prose that went before the comic, and then it was afterwards. I think Under the Hood happened afterwards. Every issue when that book came out, you got the prose, and that was all of the villain stuff, and it was just as important to me as the comic.
For sure, and absolutely, and for me, being a part of it, fans, sometimes I get to go to conventions and stuff, the fans who come up and help me to learn and understand more about it, that's been phenomenal. So,
Yeah.
they helped me dig a little deeper.
You were also attached to, I think, the last season of Battlestar Galactica. One of the best television shows ever made, as far as I'm concerned, and I would love to know a little more about what that was like for you, how you got that role, and what it was like being on that show.
Battlestar Galactica. First of all, I love the way it was shot. I thought that incarnation of Battlestar, the way they shot it was a character in itself.
Yeah.
So that was pretty cool. And I went through the normal audition process for that one. I went to an audition, got a call back, and got cast. Fortunately, got cast for it. And I was a pretty. I mean, I watched the show, so
Yeah.
And to know it was filmed in Vancouver, and to know that there was a possibility that I'm an actor, it's filmed in Vancouver, it might happen.
Absolutely,
It
yeah.
happened in the finale.
Yeah.
So, like at the 11th hour, I'm just glad that it did happen. And it was a pretty fun role, to be able to, and maybe have a little night of good times with the president.
Right? Exactly.
Not a bad win.
Now, I don't know much about the web series Divine, but I want to check it out based on what I have learned about it, sort of, prepping up for this. What fulfilled you doing that series?
I am so glad you brought that up. So Ivan Hayden, Kirk Jakes, and Jason Fisher, these guys got together and created this web series.
Okay.
And I auditioned for it, and it was quite an honor because they had auditioned quite a bit before they found that they wanted to use me to play Divine. But the story, it asks questions without giving, it doesn't force answers down your throat about religion, about faith, belief, right from wrong. And we only got to touch on it. They would tell me the storylines that they wanted to take this on, and the fact that it's an immortal. So he became immortal during the Spanish Inquisition as a punishment.
Okay.
And the way they wrote these scripts, that, like I said, they dabbled in faith and belief, but they never said this is right, this is wrong. They just made you question religion itself and faith and belief. And the character's immortal.
Awesome.
And pretty, for lack of a better term, badass in my mind. And broken with so many different, he was punished with immortality. And that the only thing he truly wants to do is find his mortality again so that he can live a life and move on. So there's torment, and there's layers to this character that are unique to an immortal, and the storyline that they brought. So they're still working on it. They love it enough that they still have it, it still has life.
Yeah, awesome.
And I'm praying that it finds a home.
Now, you grew up in Canada, left for a bit, and then came back. What drew you back, and if you could, what keeps you Canadian?
Hockey keeps me Canadian. Sports took me away, and the desire to travel. So I wound up in Holland playing volleyball. And my brother, he left well before me and moved to Australia.
Okay.
So the notion of, and we moved a lot when we were younger. I think I counted 16 times before I went to university, and that meant not just towns, but houses within. My dad worked hard. He was a workaholic, so every promotion meant a new, upgrade, to this house or this town.
Right.
So my brother and sister and I became very connected, but the concept of moving and change and all that wasn't scary. So I went to university, and then the volleyball thing carried on. And my brother was in Australia. I didn't feel like I had to go back home. The world is out there. Go check it out.
Yeah.
I called my brother and said, "Hey, I've retired from volleyball. I don't really know what I'm going to do next." He's like, "Oh, I'm starting a company in Australia. Come out and do it together."
Come on down.
And we wanted to make movies together, and his entrepreneurial nature kept him working on this business, and my desire to make films kind of started pulling me away, and I wound up going to England, starting the whole get an agent, get an audition,
right,
get a part, get a better agent, get a better audition, better part. And in doing so, I realized that there was a roof. I'm not sure how I say that anymore, because the American, when you film
England, American.
Yeah. But I realized that I could only do so much as a North American in the UK.
Yeah.
And I would have to come home to North America to move my career forward. So after 5 years in the UK, 4.5 years in the UK, I decided to come home solely for the purpose of expanding my opportunities in the acting world.
I know.
And Canada, now you have to get an O1 visa or a green card to go,
Yes,
and I finally got mine, so I can work south of the border. They'll get you once in a while if you do a show. They'll help you get down there for a temporary one. But
That's
now
cool.
I've got more I can go and work
Yeah.
down there, which I'm excited about. But yeah, I wanted to come home and expand my horizons.
Cool. If the internet is not lying to me, and it does lie every once in a while, you're attached to a number of projects. Everything.
Yeah.
With Studio Makey? Am I pronouncing the name right?
Oh, Stella.
Stella,
Yeah, the
Stella
director.
Makey.
Stella.
Okay.
Yeah.
What can you tell me about that?
That
If
was-
anything.
I can tell you that the character was, well, it was, the uniqueness for that show was I was doing a Disney Descendants, the second installation of the Descendants for Disney, and filming that one at the same time. And as polar opposites as you can get. I was a Disney classic heritage character that was bright and colorful and full family, and then everything is this dark, alcoholic, abusive dad.
Nice.
And, you know, Disney one day, the next day that. So
Yeah.
that those two side by side is pretty intriguing.
I know.
I can tell you that Nick Robinson, who's in that, is an amazing kid, wonderfully talented, and Amandla equally so. Those two, it's going to be a very character-driven story, and they are two very talented, grounded kids.
It's awesome.
That's what I think. That's about all I can tell you.
That's fair. I don't want to,
Yeah.
you know,
Get a phone call.
put the. Don't want to put anything out there. I'm not big into spoilers.
Yeah, right.
I'm told you're also a photographer. Are you still photographing now?
I am, but it's selfishly just my kids, and it's not as often as my wife would like. But and I'll do it by word of mouth. Like if a friend comes up and goes, "Hey man, I really need some new headshots, but kind of strapped right now." I still, it's a creative outlet for me, so I love doing it. And I for a while I did it for finance. I did maternity and babies because that is the most amazing thing in the universe, that a baby grows inside. And I loved capturing it for those moments for people who wanted that, for the families who wanted that, and then headshots just as a function of business. But now it's my kids. I want to kind of, and my wife puts together these books, the Shutterfly, or she puts together these books every year of the year of their life. So I want to, and we do a lot of candid and stuff, but I want some of those, like not the school photos, but like the photos that a photographer can get, and the quality we can get, so that those memories are forever there. Because my wife does all that work to put those amazing books together. I want to participate in it and get those images. So I do photography, but it's very word of mouth, and now selfishly just for I still have this giant rig. It's like you go to the park.
I know.
I got all this gear, and people are like, "Yeah, it's a pretty intense dad."
Nice lens.
Yeah, exactly.
and the Shutterfly book thing. What do you have on you when you want to take a picture of your kid? You have your phone.
Your phone.
So most of them are cell phone shots. I'm in the same boat. I've got gear, up the yin yang. I do those books, 95%.
So that's what I'm saying. That 5%, though, I still want to participate with that 5%, or even increase it. But yeah, your iPhone, it's just right there.
It's handy. It's you've got.
And now they take pretty darn good photos.
They take great photos.
And you whack it into.
You can res
Photoshop
them up and exactly.
You can make it pretty awesome.
What do you think has been the character or performance that you have had the hardest time letting go of after you've finished?
I like these questions.
I try.
No, it's really cool. Letting go of because it was a strange empire.
Any reason you want?
There's one because it was. I'll tell you the one that was the hardest to let go of because, and I wanted to let go of it because it was so deep and dark. I played a character on a series called Strange Empire.
Yeah.
And it was a Western and back in the day type story, and I played a really dark, evil cowboy who. It was bad enough that he hit. In one of the scenes, I hit this woman for feeding us this horrible food to try and make the guy sick, and I caught up onto it, and I physically take it out on this woman, and that was, that in itself is hard. Like it's hard enough to talk horribly to somebody.
Yeah.
Then you start taking it to a physical level, and then it went to an even darker place. And there's a weird part of acting where I'm like, I was extremely excited to be able to take that challenge of. I wound up raping a woman on the show,
right?
Because the character is that evil and that dark. So the Dan moral thing was struggling so hard, and you have to get that complete out of the way, because if you don't honor the story, you don't honor the scene and what needs to be said, and you also take away from it. Like if part of me's there, then I'm not doing my job, and I'm not making that scene as horrible it is, and making people realize how horrible that is. But every party's like, you have to apologize, and I'm Canadian still, so you asked me, I forgot what makes me Canadian. We could go back to that. I don't know where I went with that one. But I wanted to honor, so I had to get out of my own way and do it, and just go there. And as an actor, that challenge is phenomenal.
Yeah.
To be pushed that hard. And I had a phenomenal director, Gary Harvey, who was extremely supportive and very helpful in helping me achieve that. And then afterwards, I wanted to completely separate myself as far from it, because icky doesn't do it right, but it's just in every part of you feels
it's dark matter.
It's dark matter. It's dark matter that you want to shower off you in every possible way you can. But in a weird way, I was like, I'm glad I feel this way, because I think that means that hopefully I did it justice.
Yeah.
And I didn't let Dan get in the way of telling the story properly, so that people didn't think I was I don't want people to think I'm this bad guy.
Right.
Because my ego's like, that's some bad, dark, evil crap.
Yeah. Yeah.
So letting go of that one was
cool. And do you want to jump back to Canadian?
Well, the question was, what makes me Canadian, or keeps me Canadian?
What keeps you Canadian?
I think, for me, what I want to believe is Canadian about me is that I'm always going to be extremely grateful about any opportunity to do what I love doing. I don't want to ever become, and not that not being Canadian means that, but I'm grateful every day on set's a great day. And being conscious of that every time I get that opportunity, to me, means, Canadians, I think, are at the core, and I know it's a huge generalization, but at the core, good people.
Yeah.
And to be a good person means to be grateful when there's time, to be apologetic when it's necessary, and to be just consciously aware of where you're at and what's going on. I never want to forget that every day I get to work at what I love doing and express what I have a passion for is a gift.
Yeah.
And I think that's what's going to keep me, what I believe, Canadian.
Cool. I got 10, Ben. That's awesome. Thanks. Cheers.